I'm stalling because I'm trying to remember the intro.
Okay, okay.
What's up, Lit Punks? This is NJ Sullivan, and welcome back to Punks in the Library. Our guest today is author Alexis L. Carroll. She is the co-author of Things Magical Under the Moon, and I'm just going with this one now. I'm not doing three takes. It's a collection of grim tales that is coming out August of 2023, so it may come out the month that this podcast comes out, depending on the way things fall. Hello, Alexis.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're going to be talking about social media and such today. Social media and streaming and all the things we do that are kind of writing adjacent
Yes,
and the madness and mayhem therein.
it's true.
I stream as well. I don't know if our podcast listeners know that. There's a weird divide there between like writers and streamers or writers and streaming. You don't see much crossover there.
Not often, but I think it's starting to grow a little bit more.
I've started seeing a bit more. You were the first other writer I came across who regularly streamed. I mean, you get like the writing community chat show.
Yeah.
They stream, but they're streaming their podcast.
Yes.
They're not streaming video games. They're not,
Yeah, it is hard to find the video game streamers that are also writers.
most other kind of creator platforms, there's some crossover. Like musicians regularly stream,
Right.
and graphic artists regularly stream. And I mean, there's an obvious reason that writers wouldn't stream all that much because writing doesn't lend itself
Not quite.
to streaming. It's not exactly an exciting thing to watch somebody do.
Right. And writers are secretive about what they're writing, because they don't want anybody to steal their words. So it's like it's not like they can
Yeah.
share their screen while they're typing.
Yeah, and I actually tried it a few times.
Uh-huh.
Like my wife Solosia and I did a show where we would talk about writing stuff and kind of share knowledge, and then we'd have a writing break of like 20 minutes,
Hmm.
and it killed our viewership.
Oh, yeah.
That 20 minutes killed our viewership for the entire stream. Like
Yeah.
buried it. We'd have 10 people watching before that. We'd get to that and 2 people would come back after it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was like we ended up not doing that anymore on that show. And now we don't do that show anymore.
Right. So on Thursdays, I do a writing group and I put the writing sprint at the very end. So that way,
That would have been smart.
yeah. So like we do, we open up with just like a check-in of how everybody's week was, writing wise, and then a little bit personal wise, like, are you doing okay? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we do like a discussion on just random things. Like sometimes it's like, how do you set the tone in your book, or what's your favorite trope, or just something quick and easy
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
forth between. And then we do a word game. And then after the word game, I'm like, all right, everybody just pull up your stuff and we're just going to do 15 minutes. And I put on a royalty-free background song.
Luckily, there's a lot more of that available now than there used to be.
There's a lot of it available now. Thank goodness.
It used to be, it was like, I'm just going to take my chances.
Yep. Yes. And then they started like really cutting back on that stuff too.
Yeah. They
But,
started getting really strict on it.
Yeah, like you said, I do notice that the views definitely go down when we're doing our writing sprint, and that's fine. If I see somebody come in, I'll say like, "Hey, we're in the middle of a writing sprint. Feel free to join. I can still see the chat if you have a question, but here's what's happening."
So, I mean, it's interesting. I'll tell you one thing I did streaming that was probably the worst mistake I've made. I decided to live on Twitch.
Mhm.
I decided to try and freestyle a story,
Okay.
taking cues from the
The
chat.
chat. Okay.
And by freestyle, I don't mean I was writing it. I mean I was actually telling it.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
And you'd think it's fun.
Well,
You'd
there's
think
the
it's
chat
fun.
delay, so I guess that would make the storytelling really
It,
slow.
it was, it was, I mean, I'm sure somebody could do it, but I learned very quickly that I need a damn script.
Oh,
I need a script so bad.
okay.
It was just awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is on the list of things I will never do again.
Good to
And
know.
I've done like we've done charity streams that
Yeah.
where we will get a bunch of storytellers or writers in, and they'll each get like 5 to 10 minutes to tell a story.
It's fun.
And that works out really well because everybody writes their stuff ahead of time.
Right.
But just doing it
Spur of the moment.
spur of the moment, holy cow, that is so hard.
Yeah.
I am not touching that again. Maybe like years down the road, if somebody offers X amount of money,
Yeah.
I will do it. But it was awful. It was
You'll never
awful.
do it again for free.
I'll never do it again for free. I'll never do it again for the views. I
Okay,
can't eat views.
I will take your story as a warning and I will never do it.
Well, I mean, you can try it. You might be better at it than I am, honestly. I'm just saying
I
for
don't think I
me, it
have.
was
Yeah.
awful.
I don't think I have enough people in my chat ever to like do something quick like that.
I think that was part of the problem I had as well, was it was
Yeah.
a fairly small crowd, maybe 5 or 6 people.
Yes, that's usually my crowd too.
And it was just like, ended up being pointless. So, yeah, so streaming, I love streaming. I do it for fun. I haven't done it in quite a while because there's been a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've missed
So
your streams.
it's been lower on the priority list. And I'm actually
Reasonably.
thinking that if I do go back, or when I do go back to streaming, or when we go back to streaming, we're probably going to move to YouTube
Okay.
because we made almost no money off it anyway on Twitch.
Right.
And a lot more of our audience, coming from the storyteller world, the writing world, they're far more familiar and comfortable with YouTube
Okay.
than they are with Twitch.
I haven't looked
Um,
into YouTube yet. I've been meaning
oh,
to.
I've done it. If you want to chat about that kind of off radio, we can
Yeah.
absolutely talk about that. It's
Sounds
it's
good.
not really any harder than
Okay.
Twitch to set up. So on to our other fun topic for the day, and we can bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Social media.
Social media.
We are recording this the week of July 7th or July 3rd, rather. It's also the week of July 7th, interestingly. And Twitter's currently on fire again.
Twitter is a hot mess. It's on fire, but it's also sinking.
I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with social media in general.
Yeah.
When I started my writing career, when I restarted my writing career back in 2012, it wasn't a big deal.
Social media.
It wasn't a big deal for writers to be on social media.
Right.
But that's 11 years ago.
Yeah. A lot's changed since then.
And now it's become the be all end all of marketing,
Yep.
which by the way, I think is a scam.
Really?
I think that entire idea is a scam. I've studied marketing. I'm actually getting a marketing certification at the moment to
Okay.
improve my jobs prospects. And in that process, I've done a bunch of research on social media marketing and its actual impact.
Right.
And Twitter, I almost said Twitch. Twitter actually has one of the lowest conversion rates of any social media.
Yes.
It's like less than 2% for organic,
Yeah.
and like 3% for boosted or advertisements.
Yeah, definitely. So I haven't been getting certified for marketing, but since I've been on Twitter since 2010, but I only started in 2018 using it to find other writers. And I
Right.
feel like Twitter it's not the place to market. It is the place to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Definitely not selling things. It's a place to just find other writers who kind of think like you or find
Yeah,
streamers, you know?
networking
Yeah.
and kind of building a community
Yes.
and or connecting with your community, as it were.
Exactly.
But I mean, they push it as like even publishing houses will say, we want to see what your engagement is like on Twitter before we
Yes.
agree to sign. And engagement on Twitter means nothing to selling a book.
No, it doesn't.
They're
It really
looking at
doesn't.
it backwards because people who are big on Twitter who do other things, like take somebody like Jacksepticeye. You know Jacksepticeye,
No.
Irish YouTuber.
No.
Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, they're
I don't think
Let's
so.
Players on YouTube,
Okay.
but they
I
both
think I
have
know
huge
Markiplier.
audiences.
Okay.
Um, like Jacksepticeye just recently hit 30 million subscribers on his YouTube channel.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, big numbers, like PewDiePie kind of numbers.
Yeah.
He has a ton of followers on Twitter, but he has a ton of followers on Twitter because he's Jacksepticeye from YouTube,
Okay. What's his
not the
engagement
other
like
way
though?
around. His
Does he have a lot
engagement's
of
remarkably high. He has an
Is it?
incredibly
Okay.
engaged community, but that community came to Twitter from his YouTube channel
Intentionally.
intentionally. He
Right.
didn't he didn't build that community before he had something to give them.
Right.
And that's
Right.
that seems like kind of what is being expected of creatives.
Right.
Nobody will sign you unless you have a community, but if you don't have anything out
How can
to
you build
build
a
a community
community?
around, exactly. You
Right.
build your community around your tweets, that community isn't there for your writing or your storytelling or your
No,
painting or your music.
yeah, they're there
They're
for
there for your
you.
tweets.
Yeah.
And they may not give a crap that
Personality.
yeah, they may not give a crap about your work.
Exactly.
That's why the conversion rate is so low.
It's true.
So that's why I think it's kind of a not a scam. Scam isn't the right word.
Right.
It's a false
Um,
metric.
yes.
It's a
Yes.
false metric.
Yeah.
And with it blowing up right now,
Ugh.
I'm seeing a lot of panic.
There is a lot of
Yeah.
panic. But I'm not too worried because I'm like, this is just the place where I've made friends. It's not a place where I'm
Yeah,
planning to
it's a
sell. Yeah.
different it served a different purpose to you.
For me, for
So
sure. I'm worried about like these are people that I like and adore, but they're not people that I'd want on my private Facebook or something, you know? Like I don't that's not a
yeah,
side of
that's the other
it's
side
not
of
a
it.
side
Yeah.
of my life that I'm going to share. So and then Discord, you know, is more of a like a giant chat room. It's not really a place where people can just randomly tweet whatever's in their head.
I mean, I do anyway, but
you do, and
going
it's
back
nice.
to going back to something we were saying before we started recording,
Yeah.
I can do it because I own the company.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So exactly, that's also the problem with Discord is like people don't feel comfortable doing that in somebody else's
In
Discord.
somebody else's chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
we're kind of oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
so Twitter going down is definitely it will be a big loss to people who've gotten used to just as we say posting to the void, you know, or just
Yeah,
posting
yeah.
randomly.
There's a
But I don't think it's not gonna affect marketing at all. I don't think.
I don't think it will either. Well, for us it won't because I have a natural dislike for it and you don't
Right.
use it in that way. But there are
Exactly.
people who have built their entire brand. Their businesses are entirely on Twitter.
And that's dangerous.
And
You
that's
should
their
you
that's their
should
only
never
point of
rely on
contact.
one social media. You should never
Yeah.
rely on just one.
I don't know. I actually posted on Twitter about this a few days ago when all this mayhem started. I've said it a million times. Never trust a platform you don't control.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Especially when something as, I mean, even without the madness going on inside Twitter headquarters right now, an algorithm change could tank your company.
Yes.
A terms of service change could tank your company.
Yep.
The way I learned it, social media should be first point of contact for your customer. From the marketing perspective.
Yeah.
First point of contact. That's where they hear about you. That's where they can get a daily update. But it shouldn't be main point of contact.
No, definitely not.
Main point of contact should be something you have more control over than social media. Even
Yeah.
something like Twitch or YouTube is a better main point of contact
Okay.
because they don't run the same way.
Right.
They're not making you chase well, you do have to chase an algorithm on YouTube a bit, but
I think you'll have to chase the algorithms literally everywhere.
yeah,
They're
that's
not
how they
designed to
work.
be very friendly. You have to battle them.
But a system like Twitch or YouTube, if I subscribe to your channel, which I
Yes.
am subscribed to your Twitch channel, not subscribed, I follow it.
Right.
I will see when you're live.
Okay.
Twitter, unless you turn on, I don't even know if you still can because I've never done it. Unless you turn on notifications, you won't know when somebody tweeted. And that tweet will get lost
Right.
and you may never see it.
I have all my notifs turned off because I was getting blown up all the time. So I don't know if Twitter still has that. I imagine that that would be probably the last thing that they would take away.
Yeah,
Is
I
individual
have it turned off
notifs.
too.
But yeah, I get it.
You know,
And then I
how
guess,
many people complain about nobody seeing, is anybody seeing my tweets? Anybody. And
oh,
these are people with 30,
dozens.
40, 50,000 followers
Yeah.
and nobody's seeing their stuff. One
Yep.
algorithm change and they've effectively become a ghost.
Yeah. Well, going back to the popular people on Twitter, right? As putting it simply, popular people with like
Big
30,
accounts.
30K, yeah, big accounts. Going back to them, it's like I have seen a few people who have hundreds, thousands of followers, and their engagement is just really low because the algorithm's just burying them.
Yeah.
If they're not posting what they used to post, or if they're not posting daily, multiple times.
And if their posts, like even if they're posting the same thing, if what Twitter is trying to push forward
Yeah,
is no longer that, they're
yeah,
going in a straight line and Twitter took a turn.
exactly.
I mean, I've got a lot of issues with social media. The way it's run is a big part of it. I mean, you and I may very well differ on this, and I've said this before, and I've said it on Twitter, and I've said it on Facebook, and I've said it in YouTube videos, and on TikTok, and on Instagram.
Okay, you're consistent.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You're
This is
consistent.
a firmly held belief.
Okay.
The writing community is not a community. The writing community is a group of professionals who work in the same field.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is now communities can form from that,
Right.
but it's not one overarching community of people who all help each other and all are, driving toward the same goal and all care about each other or all even know about each other.
Oh yeah, there's lots of different characters in the general writing community.
I've said before that the writing community has done nearly nothing to help me.
Okay.
Has shown me nearly no support.
Right.
Other people say, "Oh, I get so much support from the writing community."
Uh-huh.
Well, that's because we're not seeing the same community.
Right.
And the same community isn't seeing us. And that means it's not a community.
Yeah. It's targeted. That's like you keep asking me if I know this person or that person. I'm like,
And you have
I've
no
never
idea.
seen that person. Yeah.
And you're a streamer.
Right.
And the two people I've mentioned were both streamers. Like
Yeah,
big names.
I don't see streamers on my Twitter. I see streamers suggested more on TikTok than I do on Twitter.
Yeah. And because the different tracking
Yep.
is showing you different things.
Exactly.
I see a lot of political stuff on my TikTok, which is interesting because I have no interest in watching political stuff.
Oh,
I'm at all.
I'm gonna admit this. I am not on TikTok enough for TikTok to know who I am. So they send me the most random things because they don't know what I like.
Fishing to figure out what you're gonna click on.
And I'm very careful to not like things that I don't want in my feed too. Like I'll watch it and I'll be like, cool, but I won't like it. And I feel bad to the creators, but I'm like, this isn't something I would normally watch anyway.
The funny thing is, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but even our company TikTok and our company Instagram, we do not get targeted for storytelling or writing related stuff at all.
Oh,
even though that's a lot of what we post.
Right.
We don't get targeted for that stuff at all. The only writers who show up on TikTok for us are writers we follow.
I've actually noticed that on mine too. I only see the people that I follow and then whoever sends me stuff.
Yeah.
I don't ever get targeted for writing. And those are the videos that I am liking.
Yeah. So it's almost like they're being suppressed.
Yeah. Probably because it's not a visual market, so they don't want to promote writers because it's all words,
Oh, they're going to start promoting writers. TikTok wants to start its own publishing company. Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That makes sense. That would be the
Interestingly enough,
biggest
heard
move
about that
for
on
them.
Twitter. Yeah, but it's going to kill everybody else's engagement because they're going to artificially boost their own authors.
I mean,
I can almost guarantee it. So, yeah, the whole social media thing, like for writers, it's odd because so many people say, oh, Twitter has been so important to my writing career.
yeah.
And I don't know if it's just because I don't do print storytelling. I
Okay.
do audio almost exclusively now. Twitter has done nearly nothing, like even in general.
Right.
Even with decent engagement for my follower count, I see like almost no movement when I post a tweet. If I post an Instagram reel, a TikTok video,
Yeah.
or a YouTube short, I see a difference.
Yeah. I have noticed that
Very
too.
odd.
Videos are definitely king right now. People love videos.
Yeah.
And I think Twitter literally is just a sinking ship, marketing wise, definitely.
I would almost say that as far as marketing goes, it's kind of everybody realizing the emperor's naked. Like it was
Yeah.
never it was never a good outlet for it.
Yeah, I
But
think
people
so.
convince themselves and businesses convince themselves, publishing houses,
Yeah.
agents and writers convince themselves that because it was the biggest social media platform, it had to be a good one.
Yeah.
And, that's not how it works.
Right.
Neil Gaiman, who is very active on Twitter,
Yes.
probably sees a decent boost from his Twitter when he posts about a new book coming out or a new project. But he's
Right.
Neil Gaiman.
Yes.
He was famous before Twitter existed.
I was gonna say he had the fan base before he had the Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah, I think people are finally seeing, even if they're not willing to admit it, because a lot of people are convinced that it's kind of the be all and end all. And in a lot of ways, Twitter is one of the worst outlets. I mean, the conversion rate, 2% conversion rate on word of mouth is 80%.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, conversion rate on Facebook is like 13%.
Okay.
Or was last time I looked. So
is this just general Facebook, or do you mean
just
Facebook
general
and
Facebook.
Insta? Okay.
Just general Facebook. Or
now
OG
they're meta.
Facebook. Yeah, I know. Ain't they just? Sorry.
Have you seen TikToks?
TikToks is like 13 or 14%.
Really?
And
I'm
Twitter's is like, or Facebook's is like 9 or 10. I had that backwards.
All right.
And I don't remember Instagrams, but yeah, TikTok has, or at least the last information I saw, TikTok had the highest conversion rate of any social media.
Yeah, I believe it.
A lot of it is because, I think because the way TikTok works is almost like an Airstats word of mouth.
Yes.
Which Twitter isn't.
Right. I agree.
So it gets some of the benefits of this person who I see all the time is telling me this book is really good. This podcast is really good. This artist is really good. You should check them out. And, then the next person goes, oh, I'll check them out, and checks them out and does the same thing.
Yeah.
And they tell 3 friends, and they tell 3 friends, and they tell 3 friends. So it works more in that form, like word of mouth.
I've noticed too in my research that definitely the videos on TikTok that have an actual human face talking get better responses than even, some people run accounts where they don't want to show their face, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I've definitely seen that people who are just real and down and ready to talk, even, like we're talking right now in our pajamas and stuff, like those are the people that start to actually build, like you said, like a following where people listen to what they have to say.
Exactly.
And I think it's the human connection rather than typing words on a screen or showing a picture,
there's actually, I mean, I have a decent correlation for that because we post TikToks that are me talking, and we
Right.
also post sound bites from our shows on
Okay.
TikTok.
Right.
And the videos of me talking always get 10 to 20 times the views
Wow.
of the soundbite. Because the soundbite is just, the cover for the show with a waveform.
Yeah. That's so classy looking too. I love that.
Were you saying
But
ours is classy looking or just in
well,
general?
yours, but in general, but also
Yeah.
yours. I love the
Oh, well,
look
thank
that
you.
you guys use.
I designed it.
I agree. I agree. I have noticed that too when I've been scrolling and not liking things. I noticed that people respond better to a person actually on a camera screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think it is the human connection.
It
It's
is.
another person. It's not just a voice.
Right.
And actually, YouTube is having an issue with some of their science education channels right now
Really?
that people are using AI scripts and AI voices.
Oh no. Yeah.
And yeah, and Kyle
We
Hill
don't
actually
like
has a
that.
whole video about it if you know Kyle Hill. He's an educator. He calls himself Dollar General Thor
Oh,
because he's a big guy with long blonde hair and a beard.
I
Um,
I figured Dollar
yeah,
General.
but he actually did a whole video about these AI voiced, AI image, AI script, science education in giant air quotes channels. And a lot of them are spreading misinformation or wrong information or, just gobbledygook.
Yeah. Wackadoo stuff.
Yeah. That was connected to the not using your face on TikTok or Instagram thing. I don't know what the connection is in my brain that made me go there,
Yeah.
but the faceless thing, it can work for some things. Like there are Let's Players who still do faceless.
Yeah.
And that's fine. They don't want to show their face. They want their anonymity when they go out in public.
And that's fair.
And, totally fine. Actually, one of my favorite YouTube channels uses cartoon drawings of
Oh,
themselves.
cute.
I think they're called chibi. That's the style of the art? I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah, yeah. Okay, chibi art, yeah. They're like really cute and miniature.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And they do like literature stuff and history stuff.
Oh, fun.
And now occasionally they will show their faces.
Okay.
Like if they're doing a thank you for blank number of subs video, or
Oh,
if
so
they're
like a
doing
little
like a
reward
little
system.
special, yeah, or if they're doing like a special because they do a podcast as well, and if they're doing a special edition of the podcast, they'll have their cameras on.
Oh, fun.
But other than that, all you see is cartoon people. And one of the hosts actually pointed out because they started the channel when they were in college.
Oh,
Red,
wow.
I believe they identify as female. Female. Remembering identifies as female. Red, the woman who started it in college as a Shakespeare channel.
Oh, really specific.
Yeah, and then kind of started to branch out into talking about tropes and talking about
Yes.
different books and stuff like that. And then her high school friend, who goes by Blue, said, I'm really interested in this history thing. Could I shout it into the void on your YouTube channel? And she said yes.
I love that.
And they've been doing it for 4, maybe 6 years now, and it's their full-time jobs.
Wow.
And they almost never show their faces. Back to social media.
Back to social
I mean,
media.
interestingly, I don't consider like YouTube or Twitch to be social media.
They're a different genre of social media, I
Yeah.
suppose.
To me, it's more like going to an improv show or watching television, depending on
Yes.
whether it's live or not. And
Yeah.
I don't really consider that social media
No.
because it's not Twitch a little bit more so than YouTube, but YouTube definitely is not built off interaction
Okay.
in the way that like Twitter is.
Right.
Where, I mean, obviously they're, one of the metrics that they look at are how many people are liking it, how many people are watching it, how long are they watching it.
Right.
But it's not designed for conversation
Right.
in the way that Twitter is, or even to a degree Instagram is. Like
Yeah.
Twitter is very unique in that way.
Right. That's
And
what it was built for originally, was connecting.
yeah. I remember the first few times I heard about Twitter, it was always referred to as a microblogging site.
Yeah, that's actually how I convinced other people to join it. I was like, it's a place where you don't have to take a picture like Instagram.
Yeah,
It's not a place where you have to friend people to see what they're doing like Facebook. I was like, it's a place where I can write at the time 100
100,
characters.
120 was it? 128 or something like
120. And then, oh my God, I remember the day they upped it to 240. I was like, whoa!
that.
Thank you, Twitter gods.
I preferred it when it was shorter.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
I think one of my biggest problems with Twitter in general, just in general, and you can tell me what you think about this. I would love to hear your opinion on it.
Okay,
But
let's go.
it does not offer any room for nuance.
Nuance.
It's very hard to put a nuanced argument on Twitter, partially because of the character limit.
Yeah, and people have gotten around that by doing threads, which is also dangerous because you could lose interest with big long threads.
Exactly.
Except when you find the people who do want to argue. The people who are just there on Twitter to argue, they will find these
Yeah.
threads and they
And they'll
won't
go
read
after
them.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they'll go after it.
They'll read the
And,
headline,
Yep.
and that's it.
Disagree with
And
it, and then the posters like, oh well, you didn't read this part, and then they'll tag that part again, and
Right.
it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
that's another, you just hit on another thing about Twitter I don't like. This whole thing wasn't meant to be just things Nick doesn't like about Twitter, by the way.
Okay. Nick doesn't like Twitter. Alexis likes Twitter.
And well, TikTok is like this in a way too, that it feeds off anger
Yes, I hate that so much.
and it rewards anger and controversy.
It really does. I see more angry, mad tweets on my Twitter than I do like positive ones, and it's mostly from people I don't even follow.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
XYZ of a follower that I follow liked it. And I'm like, I don't even interact with that follower. And I'm seeing what they like and it's negative stuff. And I don't like that. Like, I'm not there for the negative stuff. I'm not there to argue either. So I don't use it for that.
And it seems like with, excuse me, it seems like with engagement dropping,
Yes.
I'm seeing people who were not that kind of people picking arguments on Twitter or making statements
Bogus ideas. Yeah.
designed to start fights just to get their engagement back.
Yep.
And like, I can't tell you how many people I've muted or blocked in the past 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm there for.
I'm not there for that either.
I mean, you get dumbasses in YouTube comments and,
For sure.
but, I get a dumbass in my YouTube comments, I block them.
Yep.
And they don't get to go back to their equally weighted YouTube channel and claim they won. Which is exactly what happens on Twitter every time.
It'd be funny if they did that. They just made like a little video of them being like, this person blocked me, so I won.
I'm sure that does happen.
So terrible.
Yeah, people are awful.
Yeah, recently
People
I had
aren't awful. People are just
had
fine.
a
But
friend on Twitter comment saying there aren't as many fireflies as I remember. Is this just a fever dream that fireflies exist? Right, joking, right? Obviously a joke. And commenting on the decline of fireflies. And I went on there and I said, yeah, I had taken my daughter to Indiana where my grandparents lived. And I was excited to show her the fireflies. And I said, and there was not nearly as many as there were when I was a kid, and it was disappointing. Do you know how many people came after me and saying, oh, maybe if you just went out to the woods once in a while, or you went camping? And I was like, okay, I just told you that I went to Indiana to go see fireflies, and it was declined. I didn't say they were gone.
And on top of that, there has been a measurable decline in the amount of fireflies in the world.
Well, when I'm not a writer,
thing.
I'm a hairstylist, and I had a client who lives here in Oregon. We don't have fireflies here in Oregon. I had a client who lived in Oregon but was hired to study fireflies and the decline of them. And this person told me that it is definitely drastically changed in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's getting too warm in the summers and it's too cold in the winters for them. And apparently they like bury themselves for 2 years as like larvae to become
Right.
fireflies. And so now, because it's taking so long for them to hatch, you know, their environments get moved around. And
Right.
the point is not fireflies. The point was that I posted just engaging with my friend, agreeing, and then I had 5-6 people on there down my throat about how I'm
Yeah.
wrong. And I was like, how am I wrong about my own experience?
And I mean, I've noticed this. I notice it a lot more amongst writers and bookish people on TikTok than I do on Twitter. I will say that.
Yeah.
I will notice if I post a video on TikTok, like if I said putting all of your effort, and I've actually said this and got attacked for it, putting all of your effort into marketing on social media is a waste of your time. If you put all of your effort into it.
Right.
All of your marketing effort goes into social media because these are the numbers, like we were talking about earlier.
Yes,
These are the numbers for social media. I had somebody attack me for that.
Yeah.
This is the data. Well, where'd you get those numbers for? I see a huge increase in my book sales when I post a video. Well, good for you, but the entire marketing world disagrees.
Right.
Like every study that's ever been done disagrees with you. Are you an outlier, and should you be studied by science?
Not only that, too, it's people don't hear the all part. You were like, if you focus all of your attention on social media, and you're just trying to say like, don't rely solely on the social media.
On social media.
And these people are hearing, don't do it at all because it's a waste of time. Like,
yeah, like another big one for me is the whole writing guru thing.
Oh,
and be careful who you take advice from, because that is a classic marketing strategy called positioning yourself as an expert.
Yep.
And they've been doing it for decades. It is taught in schools. A few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe during lockdown, possibly, I posted a video saying, look at the credentials of the people you take advice from. People who are posting may very well know less than you do about writing or marketing a book or publishing. Look at what they've done, what they've accomplished. Yeah. Do they have any credibility? And someone I had never interacted with on TikTok, a woman, and I only say that because it's pertinent to what she said next.
Okay.
Called me a misogynist.
Oh.
For posting, and I hadn't said anything about gender at all. I said writing gurus.
For suggesting to check out who you get your advice from.
Yeah, so I looked at her account, and she was selling a how to write a bestseller course. Oh. So I looked her up.
Does she have any bestsellers?
Has not published a book. But I was attacking her livelihood.
But not directly, but she took it directly.
Well, yeah, because she was exactly the kind of people I was warning people against.
Yep.
Literally zero credentials.
Ugh.
And we have a rule at our company that we don't give advice unless we're asked specifically for specific advice.
Yes.
And that rule exists because, yes, I have been in the publishing industry in different ways and on and off for over 20 years. Right. But I am not a friggin' expert.
Yep.
I am not an expert.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. I can tell you how I solved the specific problem you're having, but I'm not going to give blanket advice.
Yeah.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. But yeah, it's just one of those things that's always bothered me. And I'm not like trying to specifically bash social media on this episode, by the way. I have gotten a lot of good things and met a lot of lovely people, both fellow authors and non-authors, and people from all around the world who I never would have had the chance to interact with without it. And it's great. In that sense, it's great. Like I never would have met you without Twitter. Never. I never would have met Connor Breeden, who I consider a proper friend, without TikTok.
Yeah.
And he lives in Ireland. When am I going to run into him on the street?
Exactly. When would you have time to build that friendship with him, too, without social medias?
Exactly. So there are really good aspects to it.
There are. Just don't put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah, and there is so much toxicity that you have to watch yourself with it.
Yes, especially with mental health.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I got off TikTok for like a year and a half, and that was the reason why. Because my timeline had become so toxic
Right.
that
Oh,
it was honestly making me angry. It's the
yeah.
same reason I stopped looking at Twitter and TikTok during the last election,
Yes. Yeah.
because there was so much hate and vitriol, and you could
It's
not get it.
terrible.
There was no safe corner of social media.
Yeah.
There was no place you could go except
Yeah.
possibly our Discords, which is
Private
our
groups.
community that we run, that we can shut people down if they start getting like that. Private
Right.
groups.
Yeah.
But the public social media was a shit fest.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got out of a lot of it for quite a while because of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm saying there is a
No.
lot of bad in it. It has a lot of good aspects, and it has helped a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's also hurt a lot of people.
There's definitely days where I close down the app and I go do something in real life because I just like it's the day that Twitter decides to show me all the arguments.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
TikTok decides to show me all the people yelling about their beliefs or something. And I'm like, I don't,
yeah.
why?
No, I'm not putting up
I
with
come here
this.
to escape, not to.
Yeah, exactly. See, those days are the days when I'll start making videos or start writing a new script,
Yes.
or, go to the park with my wife
Yep.
and
Go
make
to
a
the
video or write a
park,
script there.
read a book, put on music instead.
Yeah, put on YouTube. We watch a
Yeah.
ton of YouTube.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't have cable, and our only streaming service is Amazon.
Okay.
Um, so we basically watch YouTube all the time.
Oh, okay.
And we watch like history documentaries, and the channel I was telling you about with Red and Blue, that channel is actually called Overly Sarcastic Productions, and I suggest it to everybody.
Nice.
Or Film Joy, run by Mikey Newman. He's also on Twitter. He's awesome. I learned more about storytelling from Mikey Newman than I did in 7 years in college.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He does video essays where he breaks down the storytelling, and
Love that.
breaks down a movie, or, a
Okay.
TV show.
Yeah.
And it's just so insightful and so well done.
I
I'd
have to
rather
check
watch
out.
that than listen to people argue on Twitter.
Yeah, no.
You know,
No.
it's
I
it's
don't
much
like
more
listening to people
affirming.
argue. Yeah.
I'll send you some links for some of the YouTube channels we watch.
Do it. I
All right. Well, do you have anything left to say?
don't think so.
Social media isn't all bad, but there's enough bad that we need to watch ourselves, basically.
I guess the basic line for me from about social media would be just don't rely on it too heavily. Don't take it super seriously.
Yeah, absolutely that.
When you stop having fun is when you should stop.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you're not having fun, if it's making you angry, it's not time for you to be on the social medias
Yes,
then.
it is no longer a healthy place for you.
Yes.
You got to know when to leave the party.
I mean, we could go old school. MySpace is still around. We can go back to
I know.
MySpace.
I've thought about it. I had a MySpace in high school.
I had one too.
I had my actually, this is the second mohawk I've had in my life. The first one was my MySpace profile
that.
picture.
My username that I use to this day on every social media is from my teenage days of creating a username on MySpace.
Jeez.
Yeah,
It's
there was a trend
mainly
among
music now,
us
isn't it?
scene kids. Yeah, it's mostly music now, but I think that they were trying, like when Twitter very first started to go downhill, I think that they were trying to kind of be like, hey, you can come back to us, but it didn't really work.
Yeah. I mean, it would be hilarious if that's where everybody ended up.
It would be hilarious, and I think that Facebook Tom, I mean not Facebook Tom, MySpace Tom
Tom. Yeah.
would be like, yeah, man, that's why I created it back then.
I remember somebody came after him for not doing anything. Like said something about him on Twitter.
He's an amazing photographer.
How he just kind of bailed on MySpace, and he responded, he's like, I didn't bail on MySpace. I built a company from scratch, sold it for several $billion,
Yeah.
and then retired.
Yeah. So he
Like,
could do what he wanted
this-
to do. Who wouldn't want to do that?
This is exactly the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
He
know-
just got away from social media and the internet. He's
Yeah.
a photographer, and I'm sure he has other adventures that he does.
Yeah, and he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Anywho, I think we should
Anywho.
end there. That's a brighter note to end on than Twitter's on fire.
Yes, it is. On fire.
Yes, it is. And let's end on MySpace, Tom, just loving life right now. And hopefully we can all get off social media.
Yes. I hope we can all go out and live our lives in retirement like him.
Exactly. Hopefully we can all make multiple hundreds of millions of dollars from social media and then retire and never touch it again.
Yes. I like to tell myself that if I ever got that rich, I would hire somebody to run them for me like the celebrities do.
Yeah, social media manager. I've applied for a few of those jobs recently, actually.
Nice.
I'm probably not going to get any. I'm probably not going to get any after this podcast.
Not after this podcast.
No, this is like all of it sucks. It's on fire. It's bad for your mental health, and it doesn't help your business. Hire me to manage your social media.
I will do a great job.
Alexis, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Alexa, shut up.
I'm not talking to you. We could do the outro
All right.
again.
Nah, we'll just keep rolling with it.
All right.
It's called Punks in the Library, not Perfectionists in the Library.
This is true. This is true.
So thank you very much for coming on the show and chatting with me about social media and listening to me bitch about social media for an hour.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to catch up with Alexis,
You can find me on Twitter.
You can find her on Twitter. Find her on Twitter. Instagram. You list them. And you say what your screen name is so that I don't set off the Amazon thing again.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook pages, and TikTok, all under the exact same username at Alexis X Aesthetic.
And that will also be in the show notes below this episode. And you can also find her on Twitch 2 days a week. It's Monday and Thursday?
Mondays, not really in the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thursdays?
But Thursdays, yes. And Thursdays are a writing stream. So that's for writers and anybody that is interested in writing. Mondays are gaming.
Yeah. Thursdays are writing.
Got it.
Alexis, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And shut up. Stupid thing. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and we hope to have you back sometime. I hope this wasn't too traumatic an experience for you.
That was fun.
Everybody out there listening, thank you for coming out. Thank you for hanging out. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Punks in the Library is produced by Celicia Crane and NJ Sullivan and is a Lantern Audio Works production. To support this show, go to patreon.com/Lantern Audio Works. To check out all our shows, go to lanternaudioworks.com.